I'm going to share my screen differently this time. I'm going to show you a little funny template that we have for personas. Can you guys see the Hoff? Can you see the Hasselhoff there?
Yes.
Right. So a persona is a fictional person, right? We don't want to use the real names, right? We want to come up with a fake name, right? But you want to apply this thinking all the way through your stage development when you're building or creating or whatever whatever you're charged with doing in your world. And it becomes the face of the backlog item, right? It's like, yep, we're doing this for this person. It helps us with context. So if we start, a lot of times we start to veer off and really move away from the why we're doing the work for someone, but having this persona right in front of them helps us to have that shared understanding. But here's another way to look at it, right? So here's an example. So this is Carl, the cost-conscious consumer. We got his age, fake name, right? Age, occupation. You don't really have to get that deep on the Myers-Briggs thing, but I just thought that was kind of fun to throw that in there so we can understand what the personality type is. But look at what he's frustrated about. Understand what your stakeholders and customers are frustrated about, because we want to know why we're building that thing for them. What's their personal goals, right? Ask them those questions. But what's more important is the purchase triggers, not just buying something, but what's going to trigger them to use that thing that you're building for them, that product, process, or system, right? So here's a template that you can use when you're building personas. Here's a different one. Sarah, the sophisticated swiller. She's 28, right? She's single. She lives in Houston, right? She's frustrated because you have to consider all these options that lack a clear way of, kind of identifying what the quality of her beer, what she likes to drink. What's her goal? Outgoing, wants to enjoy as many different beers as possible, so on and so forth. Her triggers are a cool, interesting backstory. So when she goes to a brewery, she wants a backstory, like, why is this IPA the way it is? Why is this ale the way it is? It's just to get a deeper understanding and dive deeper into the psyche of the person you're dealing with. Oh boy, we've seen these people before, right? Ivan, the irate internal customer, right? We got his demographics over here. You can see what he's frustrated about, right? Waiting on other people. His goal is like, he wants exactly what he wants and promised right on time. Like, I want my stuff. He wants on-time delivery. So that's just a couple of different ways to build your persona templates. Who on the call here has ever used personas in their work or just in their lives at all?
I did. I'm also a bartender, or I was.
Really? Oh, that's awesome. So you can identify with Sarah, the sophisticated swiller, James.
Yes,
Tell us,
absolutely.
tell us a story about when you used persona in your life.
Well, essentially, one of the things that I do is I do that during story building workshops. One of the things that I have promoted along with the, especially in the product owner class, is basically creating a story map. What do you want to build, and then go ahead and fill out, go ahead and do details for each one of the major pieces in the story block. And for that particular case, you definitely need to go ahead and use personas, very simply because as far as personas go, there's not just one. There's usually multiple ones. And those will basically focus on different or emphasize different areas of what you're building. And in doing so, one of the things that you can do is build that story map that covers all the things, and then identify, okay, what's your first release going to look like, and what is it going to do for each one of the personas?
Absolutely, James. I like that explanation that you gave. And to kind of pull that thread some more, the story mapping piece that James talked about, you can also do a customer journey map as well, right? Like, what's the first thing this customer is going to touch all the way through? Like, my cousin has a restaurant in Texas, and I walked her through the customer journey. Like, when they first walk into the door, what are they going to smell? What are they going to see? And what are we going to say to them? What are they going to read on the board where they're going to order? She has a jack potato bar. And then when she comes to the counter to order, what is that journey going to be like for that person? When they get to the point of sale, how long is it going to take for the baked potato to come out? So you're right, James, we map that journey out. And when you're really clear on each of those stages, Those are your bigger epics, and they go right into your backlog. Right.
Yep.
So you map things out. You can do the customer journey mapping, you can do the story mapping, but you want to lean it out. You want to map it out and pull those bigger epics and those bigger components down to your backlog and then decompose them with the team. Right, James?
Yeah, just go ahead and give you that more than one persona, your suppliers, and how you're dealing with them. So the beauty of it is it gives you a bigger picture, and it allows you to go ahead and identify what's most important across the board.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you have a supply chain, you have the customer journey, you even have the journey of the owner themselves, right? We just talked about the bar and the restaurant, right?
Yeah.
So you look at all of these different personas, these different ways of slicing the experience up. And when you're building your backlog, you're considering all of those different aspects of the journey when you're building your backlog, and it keeps the backlog tighter and more meaningful, and we have a deeper understanding when we're pulling the work in.
Yeah, it keeps the junk out of the backlog, backlog rather than a dumpster.
Right. Yeah, because what James is talking about, folks, a lot of backlogs just have a bunch of stuff in it. It's just gnarly. It's just not really clear, but we want to have really clearly defined items in that backlog when we're pulling the work through. And you can tell as well through teams' throughput and their consistent velocity. And the velocity should be climbing based on capacity, right? We get sick, we go on vacations, but teams should be accelerating as they go on when things are crisp and clear.
Well, I'll just point out one other thing is that in terms of doing something like that, it makes it easier for the product owner to go ahead and identify the sprint goal.
Absolutely.
Sprint, because if the product owner is smart, he's going to have some of the stakeholders or customers say at the sprint review.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to get that feedback. You want to get that feedback. And when you have those customers and stakeholders in the room during sprint review, you still want to ask that question, why? Well, no, I want to change that, Craig. Quinn, I want to change it. I'm going to go, why do you want to change it? Where's the value in that? Tell me a little bit more. Because sometimes we may already have that piece done for them, or we may have it somewhere else in the back that we can pull forward for them and not just willy-nilly say yes to everything a customer stakeholder is asking for. What happens when we say yes all the time, folks? You can open up your mics, people. Open up your mics. When we say yes all the time, what is that going to do for us?
Not a whole hell of a lot.
Right?
Come overwhelmed because you're trying to do everything for everybody and there's no prioritization, and then you really end up disappointing everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Craig put it in here, explode the backlog. Absolutely. Yeah. We just can't shove more paper in the printer to make it go faster. Right?
No, agreed. It's just getting a clear understanding. And the other thing is, one of the things I've heard so many times, especially when you're looking at cars and a salesman asks you, well, what are you looking for? And he says, well, I'm not sure, but I know when I see it, I'll know.
Absolutely.
So that is part of it.
That's right. People don't know what they want until they see it.
Yeah.
Right.
And biggest thing with Agile is a misconception here, and the fact that it's not about being Agile or, looking for adopting a framework or throwing in another Scrum team. It's all about business outcomes. Absolutely.
James, you nailed it. And a lot of folks I've worked with say, oh, wow, we got to increase just our velocity, more stuff. It's not about the output. It is about the desired outcome. And Leslie made a really good note. Thank you for your text here, Leslie, saying that, yeah, unrealistic expectations. And it's all about managing expectations within the team and external to the team as well. All right.